ladies and gentlemen? This is second edition of Freeball Friday, and I'm here with my buddy Charles St. Michael, Chaz the Jazz. I like to say fuck a lot.
Jesus didn't slut shame.
Yeah, so let's talk about what you had previously discussed in a video in a 2-minute warning on your channel called, basically, I don't remember what it was called, but the concept was the person who cares less in a relationship controls it.
I read that quote years and years ago, and I was more of a hopeless romantic than I am now, and the quote said, the person who loves the least controls a relationship, and so many people find themselves in that situation, and there comes a point, it's sad to say this, but there comes a point in your life where you have to come to the sad realization that you can run yourself ragged for somebody and they're not going to care, and we find ourselves caring about what people who don't care about us think about us, and they're not. They're not. That's the thing about it. They're not thinking about us.
That quote kind of pertains to more than just relationships. It's more of like the person who cares less has the power in a friendship. For example, let's say you and I are friends, but you care more, you value my friendship more than I value yours. You're going to go out of your way to make sure that I'm happy. You want to appease me. You want to be that guy that's there for me.
And then the one time when I need you,
I'm not there for you.
Exactly, because as we're speaking, Scott's giving me a ride to the airport so I can rent a car and go do this gig because I have no way to get to the airport. And
thank you, Ford Fiesta.
Thank you, Ford Fiesta.
In 1 mile, keep right onto exit 51
This is,
to Route
I'll tell you something, people. If I wasn't buying a Mustang because somebody was cutting me a deal, this Ford is stepping up. This is like being
my brother Gary, who was like diehard redneck Chevy all the way, was like, it's a sharp looking little car. And my mom recently got a Honda Fit, and this thing, she doesn't keep like it.
Yeah.
And she, you know, she thinks this is really nice too. So far I've won the family over it.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I feel like I'm at the comm of the Starship Enterprise.
Keep right onto exit 51 to Route 33.
Bill Whittle said something about friendship. He goes, you know, people have all these friends on Facebook or what have you. He goes, how many of them could you call at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're 50 miles away and your car broke down and you need a ride? He goes, I've done that for people, and people have done that for me.
You've been there for me too, though. Like, you know, we're going over to your house and you're the one.
Here's some meat.
Yeah, you're supplying the beer, you're giving food, and you're just like, you know, you're very hospitable, and you're there. So that's what I try to be as good of a friend to others as they are to me. But I tend to surround myself with people that I can't even compare to their friendship. And
you are kind of a self-absorbed jerk.
But it's one of those things that
I don't believe that for a second.
I honestly, I can have all the Facebook friends and followers in the world, but I think that it's more about quality over quantity. The people that interact with me, I pay attention to every name, every like, every recommendation, every tweet.
We should make a distinction here. When you're talking about views, it's quantity. When you're talking now, because this is how we make our living, and this is how you brand yourself and all that thing. And
yes,
there's
but
a business
your
to it.
quality
But when you're talking
friends
about
and followers will share your stuff, which will then bring more views.
And that's the thing about it. A lot of people don't understand it. I talked to this one girl, and she goes, most of my friends are online. I said, almost all of my friends are online. Like I said, with the exception of Scott and Matthew Santora, who started as online friends. They're the only people I've actually had physical contact. I've seen you. I've seen him. Thank you. I said, but I've got people who I talk to. I was up last night talking to some girl off the ledge. I couldn't even, and I, you know, I said most of my friends are online. That's just the terrain we presently find ourselves deployed in.
Well, especially when you're living alone, or you only have, like, you know, for the last couple of years I haven't had a car, so it's like you're basically under house arrest. You get cabin fever, so what do? You act out by reaching out to friends, and just, you know, it's nice to be able to relate to other people, because, you know, when I feel more alone when I'm around people than I do when I am
all the time in a crowded room.
When
I'm a big, you know how we can get, you and I know how to work a room. Can we go parking, or do we go?
We'll go straight. Yeah. There's a way to get to the parking there.
And we can walk into a room, and if we're working the room, we can work the room. But if I get very uncomfortable around strangers. People understand that we have to go into performance mode. You know, that's
See, I'm really good with strangers because I've worked retail for so many years, and
dude, you cut hair.
True.
No problem.
You can put it on, but it doesn't mean you connect with them. They're in and they're out. They're like a character in one scene in a movie.
It's like your disposable friends in Fight Club.
Somebody recently mentioned that you change 50% of your friends every 7 years, and that totally makes sense. I was hanging out with one of my best friends from high school, and I felt like I hadn't seen him in years, but it was like yesterday. I'm like, hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. He's like, yeah, it's been a year and a half. I'm like, what? It felt like yesterday. Now, I'm a terrible friend when it comes to that. I don't always reach out to him, but now that I have a car and I can drive wherever I want and the gas is covered, I'm like,
oh God, that's the nice thing. Well, you know, it's with friends and everything. It's weird because your life journey may slow down, speed up, stall, take different routes. And when I have friends who have kids, that's an entire world that you were talking about, that you're the only one in your group. I said, dude, I'm the only family member who's not married, doesn't have a girlfriend, has no kids. They have worlds that are light years away from mine. And a lot of times I'm just like, I don't even know if I belong in this world. I just, it's bizarre.
I've never once contemplated suicide, but I feel for those who have. But one thing that I have, and I think we can all admit this, I've been curious what it would be like if I got into a freak accident and somehow died, right? Something happened to me. Who would really care?
Thanks for mentioning that before I make a 6-hour drive, because I haven't cleared off all the porn off my computer. Thanks. Thank God it's password protected.
Well, we'll find out how crazy you really are. No, how about you just stick around? But the point is, it's like, yeah, right now, if you were to die, how would you feel about all the stuff that they could find on your computer, in your house, in your dresser, under your bed, whatever, wherever you keep your stuff?
I'll tell you this much. One time, Carl Anderson had, before he passed away, they were doing some exercise for something that he was doing, where they actually had to eulogize each other while they're standing there. And he goes, I'm glad I got to say all of the stuff that I'm about to say to you already to Carl. And I was like, well, that's it. What would you say to me if you were eulogizing me? Can you imagine the anonymous hate and haters that would come out and go, he was a fag.
Yeah. He drove a Fiesta. You know, it's one of those things that I think, when I go to funerals, which unfortunately I've been to too many, a lot of people reach out to you and say things that don't necessarily come across as sincere, and you don't know until something like that really happens and you really need them. When my father passed away, people were like, you need something, let me know. That was like something that it just felt like they needed to say, and some of them it held true, you know, but other people, they're gone. They don't turn around. Life goes on, and that's the reality of it. People live their life, you know. It's like Russell Brand in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The one dude was like, hey, did you check out my music yet? He goes, I was going to, but then I lived my life. And it's like, the reality is, you go and live your life, but try to be a friend to people, you know, really try to
when people
be
talk
that
about
guy
that,
that's irreplaceable.
When people talk about that, you know, with what are we doing?
We're going to a car rental return without a car rental, but this is where you would go to pick one up. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. When people talk about the whole thing with, you know, the funerals or whatever, my friend, when my mother was about to pass away, he says, Chuck, everybody's going to want to say something because they feel like they have to. Just me, this is going to suck like nothing has ever sucked before, and nothing's going to change that. Just get through it.
Yeah.
That's the advice I got.
Yeah.
Chucky, this is going to suck, and nothing's going to help. And I'm going to do Enterprise.
All right, so I will turn around. But, guys, this is Charles St. Michael. We were talking about friends.
Smoking and driving. Smoking and driving.
You know, and it really is true that the person, generally speaking, the person who cares less does control it, because the person who cares more tends to have maybe self-esteem issues, and they doubt like their value. Always know that you are a good person, you are a good friend, and somebody needs you in their life. And you know, it's that same cliche thing that to the world you're one, but to one person you're the world, and that's our Freeball Friday.
Well, think of it this way: if somebody's got a lot of options, you don't want to be an option. You want to be a priority.
Bam!
Ooh, with the sound effect and everything.
Bye-bye.
See ya.